Another fantastic show planned for you guys here on the Media Row podcast with myself, Justin Miller. We'll be joined by Alex Cohen, the former play-by-play voice for the Iowa Cubs, now in the big leagues with Marquee Network and covering the Chicago Cubs. Alex has been a huge supporter of mine for as long as I can remember. We met at the KXNO studios within my first few months of working there just part-time. And ever since then, that guy has been a huge supporter and a major mentor in my small career here so far. But a huge thank you to Alex Cohen for taking time out of his day to join us here later on in the show. And with Alex, we're going to kind of do this broadcaster, sports media kind of person deep dive that we've been doing, that we did with Tommy Birch, where the people that I respect and want to learn from and have been mentors to me, I want to learn more about them and their whole life career. So with Alex, you're going to hear everything from, him being in the minor leagues to now him in the majors and everything that comes before and in between to get to that point. And it's a fantastic interview and really appreciate Alex for doing that. But before we get into Cohen's interview, do need to give a shout out, since we do have our two sponsors here with us as Kelly's Little Nipper and Stevens Automotives and Sales. Give a shout out to our first sponsor, Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. I was talking with Alex after our interview of if he's coming back to Des Moines anytime soon. We got to figure out a time to go get some food, get some drinks, and I think I'm going to take him to Kelly's Little Nipper is a possibility that we put up in there, because Kelly's has everything we'd want. TVs to watch all the sports we crave. Boom, check. Does it have a great environment? Absolutely, check. Does it have great food? Yep, there's another check. And the final and one of the biggest ones is, do they have a boatload of drinks that you can choose from? Yes, and that is what Kelly's is all about. Great food, great drinks, and even better community over at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Kelly's Little Nipper, proud sponsor of the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller. So let's jump into it. Alex Cohen, the former play-by-play voice for the Iowa Cubs, and now a backup broadcaster for the Chicago Cubs and a guy who wears many hats over in Chicago with Marquee Network, Alex Cohen, here joining the Media Row podcast. So Alex, first off, thank you so much for doing this for me. Means the world. You've been one of my biggest mentors since I met you, man, in the KXNO studio, probably in 2022. It was one of the first years I started there. So you've always been one of my biggest supporters, and even with all the chaos in the late fall, you've been there supporting me. So you doing this means the world. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm always team Justin Miller, and I think that you've done great work in the Des Moines area and doing this, and anything that I can do to help, I'm more than happy to do. If that means talking to you for an hour, then we can talk for 2 hours if you need to. So.
Well, I mean, you just got off calling a UIC softball game, so you're
Yeah,
all over the place, and
yeah.
you still find time to do this. It truly is it truly means the world. So I appreciate that. But yeah, you're still grinding, even
Still
though
grinding,
you're
baby.
now
That's
with
right.
Marquee, always
Yep.
busy.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a different spring for me. Being the iCubs voice for 7 years was amazing, and I loved the experience calling games for the iCubs at Principal Park, living in Des Moines, living in Clive, immersing myself in the area. And when you broadcast games at the AAA level to the level that I was, I mean, you're doing 150 games in 162 days. And doing that 7 straight years, I mean, you get into a routine, you get expectations of how to go about the day, going in the clubhouse, going to batting practice, calling the game, doing post game, cutting up highlights. And now, doing this with Marquee and being up in Chicago, like I don't have that. So it's building a new routine and a new normal. And that's something that it's certainly taking time. I mean, everybody works at the minor league level. I won't go with everybody, but most people do to get to the big leagues. And it's been an incredible opportunity and an incredible honor to do that. But I could safely say that, yeah, I miss being in Des Moines. I miss being with the guys. I miss calling 150 games in 162 days. I miss the chaos, which I embraced for 15 years of minor league baseball and 7 years in Des Moines. So it's definitely taking some adjustment here.
That's why that was one of the first questions I had down was you with being a minor league broadcaster first, you almost have to fall in love with that grind. Because what'd you say, 155
Yeah,
games
it's
in
150 games in 162 days. So, I mean, it is love fully encapsulated. It is joy. It is sadness. It is fatigue. It's everything. So, but doing that for 15 years, it wasn't just with Iowa. I was with the Huntsville Stars, Double A affiliate for the Brewers. I was with the Rookie League affiliate for the Kansas City Royals, the Idaho Falls Chuckers. I was 2 years with the Bowling Green Hot Rods, a single A affiliate for the Tampa Bay Rays. So I fell in love before that, but I think I cultivated the love. I really figured out what it was. I figured out how my life fit into the scheme of things while in Des Moines. I like to say that I came to Des Moines, I came to the I-Cubs as a boy, and I left a man. So I'm fully appreciative of the time that I spent with the I-Cubs and in Des Moines for sure.
You've called all sorts of different sports in your
Mhm.
lifetime, but is there something wired differently with baseball broadcasters? Are they built a
Yeah,
little different?
definitely. I mean, it's a completely different pace and a completely different tone and a completely different, they want to split up baseball and the pace of play, but it's never going to be basketball or hockey or football. It's an artistic sport. I mean, you need to be a little bit sick in the head in the best way possible to call 3+ hours, 150 consecutive games. Like it's hard to recycle those stories or really hard to do the research and even harder to break out of a sim. Like let's say you're on a 12 game road trip and the team is 2-9 in the first 11 games, so you have that 12th game and you guys are down 12-0. Like you got to dig down deep to figure out something positive or fun to talk about. So one, I can enjoy it and I can have my sanity, but two, so the listeners can enjoy it and the watchers can enjoy it. So yeah, there's a different melody, there's a different artistic value to calling a baseball game than I think there is calling other sports. The only other sport I would compare to baseball is probably golf. Like you watch Jim Nantz calling the Masters,
Yeah.
like he was silent for 6 minutes after the Rory final putt. Like it was just so like soothing to my soul. Like I fully respected that. So yeah, I think that baseball and golf are different animals for sure.
Like you said, with the iCubs for 7 years, but
Mhm.
most of those games you would have guests, but for the most part, you did those by yourself,
Yeah.
and that has to bring up different challenges in itself too.
Yeah, I mean, my first 2 years with the I-Cubs, I was fortunate to broadcast with Dean Ellis, who's an institution in the Des Moines area, voice of the I-Cubs for 30 years. And he was going to continue to call I-Cubs games. And then COVID obviously throws a wrench into things. And, Dean has 10, 15 grandkids and he wants to spend more time with his family, and he deserved that. He taught me so much how to call a game, how to immerse myself in an area, how to portray my thoughts not only as a baseball broadcaster, but somebody who is involved in the community and learning how that community ticks. So I think that's what I relied on when I was calling games solo too. Like, what do the people in Des Moines want to know about this team? If they're playing well, why? Are they playing well at home? Well, why? These guys are they from Des Moines? Do they have any ties to Des Moines? Do they have any ties to Iowa? Like you think of things so much more in a broader sense of the area, not just the game itself. So I think that combined with just calling the game and talking about the team and talking about basic trends, what they've done in their last 5 games, 10 games, month, at home, on the road, and cold and warm weather, kind of morphing that into a an area-based broadcast, a Des Moines-based broadcast, and making sure that the fans of Des Moines are able to enjoy it and appreciate it. Definitely like added an element to me and being able to call games solo.
One thing I want to ask, because like in this series of what I'm doing during the off season on
Sure.
the show, is asking play-by-play broadcasters kind of their like setups, what they do to prepare for games and how it differentiates throughout the season.
Yeah.
How did it change for you over time? What'd you learn about yourself, or maybe someone helped guide you in just terms of prep from your first year with the iCubs to
Yeah.
now you with Marquee?
Man, I also think just listening to big league broadcasters and seeing how they do it from April to June to September, and I think it's all pretty contextual. Like you're talking about a team, an iCubs team in April, half the guys are new guys. So it's introducing the fans to these new players. And of course, you look at the Cubs system and like Owen Casey's returning and James Triantos is returning. But who's Reese McGuire? Who's Carlos Perez? Who's Chris Flexen? So I think that the first month is really just introducing these fans to these new players and the dynamic of this Iowa Cubs clubhouse. So I think you do that in April and May. And once you start getting into June and July, how do the Iowa Cubs or how does a baseball team, you have a parent club, are they trading guys? Well, if they're trading guys, how are they going to trade guys on this team? What are other teams looking for? If you're selling, let's say the Cubs were selling in 2021, you think of who they're selling, who they're trading to, and how those pieces can factor into the iCubs. So the parent club definitely matters. And then you start getting into August and September, and that's where the storyline shifts. If you're the iCubs, are you winning a lot of games? Are you leading your division? Are you going to win at some point the PCL in 2018, 2019, the IL in 2021 to 2025? So are you going to win the division? If so, what is your magic number? If you're in contention, what is your elimination number? So I think it's just factoring in what time of the year it is and what is important to the team. I think that's what I cater my broadcast to.
So I want to dive a little into your personal life too, of just how you got to Des Moines and now you're in Chicago with Marquee. How did that all unfold? I was talking with Tommy Birch last week, and being a sports writer wasn't the main goal he had growing up. It kind of came later on when he was in high school and college. Was
Yeah.
this something you always dreamed of being behind the mic, or did it come
Yeah.
later?
Yeah. I mean, I went to sports broadcasting club or camp when I was 12 years old. So I think
Okay.
from a long time, I knew that this was something I wanted to do. And then when I realized I was playing baseball in high school and I was throwing flat 81 mile per hour fastballs, like I'm probably not going to be playing professional baseball. So I might as well talk about it. So my friends and I started the sports broadcasting club at our high school. And baseball was the last sport that I broadcasted because I played. But I remember the first sport we did was powder puff football. So much fun.
Yes.
So powder puff football, softball, lacrosse, field hockey, swimming, golf, football, hockey. I mean, you name it, we did it. And I just knew how much I loved being behind the microphone and talking and not getting in trouble for it. And then just with baseball, like I played it. It was a sport that I knew the most about. And then I went to college. I went to Indiana University. I immediately did student radio, and I knew that I wanted to either do a sports talk radio show or call baseball. And then I was able to call baseball my sophomore year for the student radio station, intern for a minor league baseball team, summer going into my junior year, summer going into my senior year. And then it was just kind of, you're doing this, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Let's go. I did it, and we're here.
So then what was the process like for when you're graduating college to getting that first full-time gig, kind of getting your first break?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely different in 2011 than it is now. So I basically sent an email to every single minor league baseball team, every single indie ball team. I guess it was the winter of 2011, or I guess early winter 2011. And I took a job with the independent league team, the Gateway Grizzlies, the Frontier League team, and I was their number two broadcaster, making $250 a month and getting some commission and living with the host family. My host family was awesome. They would cook dinner for me and leave it on the table every time that I would come home. I would have like a steak and like
Oh,
a case of
hell
beer
yeah.
waiting for me. It was incredible. It was awesome. So did that for a summer and then did the same thing after I graduated. Or after that summer, emailed every minor league team. It was 250 emails. I got 25 emails back. I got 5 interviews. I got one job offer. And it was with the Huntsville Stars, AA affiliate for the Brewers. And the year before, they didn't have a broadcast. And they said, you sell $10,000 worth of advertising before the start of the season. This was in January. Season starts in April. You could broadcast all 140 games. I sold $10,200 in sales. I got it by
Holy
200.
cow.
So did that for 2 years with the Huntsville Stars, and then they sold the team. And they told me in December, they said, "Hey, like we want you to come back, but we're not employing a broadcaster, not paying for a broadcaster for a lame duck season, and you can buy ad space, essentially. You can buy the airtime from the local radio station. I didn't have the money at the time, so I kind of had to figure out what to do. Went to Oakland, California. I was a broadcast media relations assistant for the Oakland Athletics in 2014. And that kind of gave me an opportunity to sit back, shut up, and listen. Like I developed some really good habits in Huntsville. I also developed some bad habits. So sitting in a big league booth kind of reinforced what those bad habits were. Don't do those. What the good habits are, keep doing them. And just getting to listen to Vince Cotroneo, Ken Korak, these are guys with 30 plus years of big league experience. So I really got to learn, and I realized that I missed having a full-time microphone in front of my face. So I started from the ground up. Went from Oakland to Melbourne, Australia, called games in the Australian
I
Baseball
didn't
League.
know you were in
Yeah, I did.
Australia.
2014 winter here and summer out there. So yeah, I got to go to Melbourne, Australia, call 4 games a week for 4 months, and it was essentially like studying abroad, but just for baseball. It was incredible.
Not a bad place to do it
No,
either.
not at all, not at all. It was amazing. And then I came
um,
back, and then I came back and again started from the ground up. So I went to rookie ball for a year, I went to A ball for 2 years, and triple A for 7 years, and now part time in the big leagues. So not a linear path.
I want to go back to you having to sell that radio space or sell those ads.
Yeah, I mean,
How
I didn't end up doing it. I mean, they were just like, you could either buy the airtime or you won't be broadcasting. And I just didn't have the money out of pocket to be able to do that. I wasn't in the Huntsville area anymore. So I would have had to move back down there for 1 year to buy airtime. It wasn't financially feasible for 24-year-old Alex. So that all came at like the calculus of things. But like I have had experience selling airtime. Like when you're a minor league baseball broadcaster, you're not just broadcasting, you are selling outfield wall signs, you're selling radio commercials, you're selling, who is the sponsor of the player of the game time first pitch, highlight of the game, anything. So I did that a lot with Iowa, selling, 15-second, 30-second commercials. So I think for the last 10 years, I've sold a lot of radio ad time.
was that something you were comfortable doing when they told you, "Hey, if you sell $10,000 of ads?"
No, but
So how'd you do
no, the
it?
best way to get comfortable is to be uncomfortable. I truly believe that. You make phone calls, you get hung up on, and you get cursed at. I remember the first time that I made a call in Huntsville, in Alabama. And at that point, I'm from Philadelphia, so I still had like a little bit of an East Coast accent. So I made the phone call and they said, "Well, you sound like you're a Yankee." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a Phillies fan." And they hung up the phone on me. So that was like my introduction to selling and being in an area and immersing myself in the area and speaking their language. And yeah, I still have a little bit of a Philadelphia accent, but it's more geographically neutral. So,
That's a perfect transition. One of the questions I'm going to ask everyone that comes during the series
mhm.
is just with the stuff that happened in the fall, I've learned to really respect people that bet on themselves and keep chasing no matter what. And so, was there a time, or maybe that was the time in your life, where there was so much adversity against you, you could easily go, you know what, it didn't work out. I'm going to go get a cubicle and work at an insurance firm.
Work a nine to
But
five and be able
yeah,
to hang with my family during holidays and birthday parties and weddings and not miss funerals. Yeah, I thought about it a lot. But I also thought that there's a lot of people that have sacrificed. It's not just me. And I've sacrificed a lot, but my parents sacrificed a lot. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, has sacrificed a lot. So you're not doing this, or I'm not doing this just to say one day, okay, I'm done. Let's go 9 to 5 and I get to attend all family functions. Like there needs to be a point in time where you're absolutely sure. And I never reached that point. I never gave up, and now I'm here. So were there times where I doubted it? Of course. I'd be lying if I told you I didn't.
and you brought up to when you were talking about your kind of non-linear path to where you are now, about just how there was a lot more behind the curtain that you were doing with the Iowa Cubs. I remember when you brought me up into the booth when I just wanted to shadow you, I was
Yep.
learning about, oh man, I thought you had the sick gig of go talk to the players, go do your broadcast, you're done for the day.
I mean, it's a sick gig, but it's a
It
lot
is
more
still a
than that.
sick
It's a
gig.
sick gig, but it's a
But there
lot
was
more than
so
that.
much more. Yeah, there
Yeah,
was
I mean,
so much
with the
more.
iCubs, I was able to, sell advertising and being able to deal with corporate partners and local partners. And I think that really helped me. It really helped me get to know the community, get to let me know more about Des Moines. I mean, especially not being an Iowa native. I think the sales part helped me. Also being the team travel coordinator, and then the players, the staff, knowing that like I'm right there with them. So if we're flying early morning flight and we're connecting, those players can't think, who the heck planned this? Because that guy was me, and I'm sitting right next to them. So. I think that was really important too, but it was travel coordinator, it was sales, it was, going on speaking engagements. I mean, early on in my career, for the first three jobs that I had, I mean, there were times where I was the mascot. Yeah, I remember my first mascot gig. Yeah, not all the time, but sometimes. Yeah, my first summer working in Gateway, I was a mascot at a birthday party, and we were at a water park, and I have this like 50-pound costume on. It's 100 degrees. I'm taking pictures in a wave pool, and kids tabletop me into the wave pool, and I almost drowned. So I wouldn't have been here unless people saved me from a 50-pound grizzly bear costume that was soaking wet in a wave pool. Yeah.
Was that a moment where you're like, okay, 9 to 5 doesn't sound too bad? I would have
That
lost
was
it.
so early on in my career. I mean, that was the first year that I did it. I'm like, like this, it's normal. It's fine. I'm alive. Nothing a few beers can't fix.
Okay,
I was
so
so naive at the point. So
that's one of the mascot stories. Is there another one that sticks out that I feel I'm like picturing all these movie scenes
yeah,
from the mascots?
broken down buses and sitting on the side of the road of a scenic Ohio highway, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning and nobody's answering their phones, and we have a game at 1, so we get to the hotel at 9:30 and we don't even sleep. We shower, we get to the ballpark, we win 5 consecutive games, and then we win the division title. So yeah, I mean that sticks out in 2016 with the Bowling Green Hot Rods. Um, yeah, I mean, I was a mascot for the Huntsville Stars during a St. Patty's Day parade, and I had previously broke my foot, so I'm wearing like this big cast on crutches on the back of a truck, being a mascot for a St. Patty's Day parade. That was fun. So yeah, those are just some stories.
The baseball broadcasters are truly built different then.
Yeah,
They
built
truly
different.
are.
Built different. Yeah, we're Renaissance men. We're basically Ben Zobrist. We can do a little bit of everything. So
It's a perfect leeway too to now you're with Marquee
yeah.
and you've been able to get to broadcast with the Chicago Cubs, and I feel like now new talking to Crash and Bull Durham, but what is the difference from minor league to now in a major league booth?
I wish I could say nothing, but it's everything. I mean, it's the big league stadiums, it's the big league booths, it's the big league trips. It's when you're a minor league broadcaster, you're essentially responsible for your own information. I mean, early on in my career, I was a media relations director and the broadcaster. So I prepped it for the game with game notes that I wrote. So they better be right, they better be accurate. I mean, at AAA, it's a little bit better and it's a little bit easier. You have competent media relations staffs, and I was really lucky with Iowa. I had Shelby Cravens my first 2 years, who's now a director of communications with the Colorado Rockies. I had Colin Connolly for 3 years, who's now manager of media relations for the Detroit Tigers, and I had Peter Brooks in Iowa, who's now there for the second year. So I got really lucky with my media relations directors, and they understood what was important for the media to know and the broadcasters to know, what stories to highlight, what trends to highlight. So having that and the stat packs that they printed out and baseball savant and baseball reference, like you're able to put together a good broadcast. But at the big league level, it's 10 times that, especially doing it on TV, because you have a statistician sitting right behind you. You have a full-on production staff in your ear, and they're giving you every single note you could probably imagine. Like they are so talented. They are so prepared, and they make us even more talented and more prepared. So just having all the resources at your disposal, and being able to get that information out there and making sure that the adrenaline doesn't take over, because it just feels different when not only is it a Chicago Cubs game, but it's a Chicago Cubs game at Wrigley Field. Like 120 at Wrigley Field feels different, and I won't tell you that it doesn't.
And before we dive too deep into the Cubs and Marquee, I do want to ask because, I've been with my girlfriend for 6 years and
Sure.
going through transitions of trying to figure out jobs, full-time positions for the both of us. But just, when you're a minor league broadcaster, now you're moving on to Marquee. How do
Yeah.
you How do you balance the broadcast and the social life aspect of everything?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was earlier with the social life. Like, I miss weddings, I miss funerals, I miss birthdays. I mean, I was in a long distance relationship for 7 years, so missed having one-on-one time with my wife, and having a wife that understands. I mean, she worked in baseball, she got it, but I mean, having a support system that is so supportive. And I know that that sounds cliche, but I know so many people in this industry that are really, really talented, but have gotten out of it because they didn't have the support system or they couldn't afford it or a combination of the two. But the fact that early on in my career, I had parents that if I was driving cross country from job to job and I needed a night to stay in a hotel, paid for the hotel. I had a wife I have a wife and had a girlfriend that would come visit me in Bowling Green, Kentucky and South Bend, Indiana and Idaho Falls, Idaho for a July 4th. Just having that support system is so important and they help provide the balance. I don't.
What exactly are you doing now for the Chicago Cubs? What is your position?
Yeah, I mean, my position is kind of being a jack of all trades for Marquee. It's a multi-platform content contributor and also being a broadcaster for 10 spring training games and up to 25 regular season games. So I think you kind of saw my job in a nutshell when I was in Japan. I was able to call all four games out there, the two exhibition games, the two regular season games against the Dodgers, and do a lot of content, whether it was a tour of the Japanese Baseball Museum or going to a pig cafe or having a hot dog eating competition. Um, just kind of doing everything that people who consume baseball, what they like. Like they love baseball, but they like other stuff too. So it's finding out what other stuff that might align with baseball, that might not align with baseball, what they like, and being able to put that on camera or on an app or on a website. So being a multi-platform content contributor is a big part of my job. And then also calling the games when Boog Chomby gets to go on Sunday Night Baseball, and Boog's one of the best broadcasters of the industry, and making sure that I maintain the reputation of the marquee broadcast booth in the Chicago Cubs broadcast booth.
What was that phone call like where they go, "Hey, Alex, do you want to come to Marquee?" What was that?
Yeah,
How did that all work out?
I mean, it worked. It was a prolonged period of time. It wasn't just like a simple phone call. I mean, and this is another big part of the industry. You have to network. From 2021 when Marquee started till now, like I was driving up there on my off days. There were times where we were playing Toledo and Indianapolis on a 12-game road trip, and I would fly from Toledo to Chicago, spend my off day at Wrigley Field, and then rent a car and then drive to Indianapolis. So just being seen, getting the opportunity from Marquee to start calling spring training games in 2023, I think definitely helped building a relationship with them, building a relationship with the broadcast team, with Boog and with JD, and having those people vouch for me. I think the relationship that Marquee and the Iowa Cubs had definitely helped because I knew what I could do and bring to the table. I think what was the biggest like moment like that, where it was just like the call was it was another one of those days where I came into Marquee during an off day. It was June of last year. And the executive, one of their executives, Nick Steger, is again like an advocate of mine and somebody who I look up to and has been huge in my development. We built a really professional relationship. So he calls me in to his office. He knew that I was coming in, said like, "Hey, like, what's going on? What's new?" Just like typical conversation. I'm like, "I don't know. Like, iCubs are playing 500 baseball. What's up with you?" It's like, "Well, we got some stuff coming up." It's like, "Oh, like, what do you have coming up?" He's like, "Oh, like you making your big league debut." And I'm like,
It-
"Okay." Like, I'm looking for a camera. So I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, it was in June, and they're like, "Yep, it's July 14th and July 19th. Like, we need you to fill in for those games." And then I did them, and I was up in Chicago in September, actually just visiting some family during an iCubs off day. And that's when I was able to call the no hitter because Boog was sick. They knew that I was in town because I came the day before. And they're just like, "Can you fill in?" I did. I found out I was calling the no hitter game 6 hours before it happened. Called the no hitter, called the game after that. And they essentially just said, like, "You do great work. We respect you. We're going to call you a lot more if you're 4 minutes away than if you're 4 hours away." And that's when I decided that I was leaving and gonna go to Chicago. So it wasn't like based off of like a formal offer. They just essentially said, "We're gonna call you more." And that's what you work 15 years in minor league baseball to get a call like that and to get a lead like that. So I made the move to Chicago and signed a contract in February, and here we are.
I want to get back to the no hitter, but first, who was the first phone call you made when you
Wife.
got told
Yeah, it
wife?
was it was Tessa. Tessa, my parents.
Yep. And
Yep.
what was your parents' reaction to everything? Because they were the ones, like you
Tears.
said, that
Tears.
had
I mean,
put
it
you
was
in the
it was a
broadcast
lot of
team.
tears. Yeah, from everybody, from Tessa to my mom and my dad, and like, I mean, it gets me even a little emotional thinking about it. I mean, I got my baseball fandom from my mom. Like, my mom was a diehard sports fan, and my dad's more of a football, college basketball fan. But my mom would listen to what Harry Callis, the voice of the Phillies, on the radio. Yeah, my grandpa on my mom's side took me to my first Phillies game when I was 4, and I caught a foul ball from Mickey Morandini. Like, those are the people that got me involved in this. And my grandpa is no longer alive, but I mean, he would have killed to see this, and he was one of the first people that I thought of. And but no, my parents were incredibly supportive and emotional, and Tessa was incredibly supportive and emotional, and it was more emotional for them than it was for me. It's still like a numbing feeling to me, but no, without them, without my family, without my high school friends, without my college friends, I'm not here right now. So more power to
And
them.
like you said, everybody there to support you. And then in one of your early games, you get to call a combined no hitter.
Yeah,
Just
third big league game. Third big league.
that's incredible.
It's
That's the
something.
stars aligning.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, it was an interesting game because I don't know if you remember early in the game there was a play that was ruled a hit for the Pirates and then got changed 2 innings later. It was definitely an error. It was an error on Isak Paredes. Like, it was 1,000% an error. But I remember looking at the scoreboard at the top of the third inning, and it's saying no runs, one hit, no errors. And then I remember looking, I remember looking in the sixth inning and seeing no runs, no hits, and two errors. And that's I'm like, all right, this change and the entire broadcast change. And I remember looking at JD, said, look at the scoreboard. He did. And I said, do you say no hitter? Do you not say no hitter? Like, I checked with him. It's not my booth, it's his booth. He said, you say it to your heart's content. If you want me to say no hitter, no hitter, no hitter, no hitter on the broadcast to start off the bottom of the sixth inning, I'll do it. So that's what I knew. I'm like, all right, we're game. Like, let's do this. And then an hour later, it happened.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is do you have that fear of the broadcaster curse?
No,
No, not at
no,
all.
no, no. I mean, I ask because I want to be supportive of what they do and he does, especially because I mean, he was in the big leagues for well over 10 years, and he's been a color commentator for almost 30. So knowing that that's his booth and that's it, he was a marquee employee. Like, anything that he wanted to do, I would do. But no, we have no impact on the game. Like, I'm gonna be creative and I'm gonna be respectful to the process. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, Shoshana Imanaga has a no hitter, Nate Pearson part two of a no hitter, Porter Hodge part three of a no hitter. I'll find ways to say no runs, no hits, no errors. Pirates hit list through seven. Like, it makes me need to be a more creative broadcaster, to find like different variations to say no hitter without being obnoxious to the process. So I think I did that pretty well.
Well, I was gonna say I still have because I remember when I was getting ready to call my first Ames High baseball game,
Mhm.
a little different than a
Same thing.
120 game at
Same
Wrigley.
same game, different auditorium. Same play, different auditorium.
But I remember texting you and being like, "Hey, do you have any advice on what a longer, slower type game of
Sure.
baseball?" Trying to find different terms, and you sent me this awesome list of just like 100 different ways to say a single, a double, a home, like all this great stuff. And I
Yeah,
still
I
have that
wish that
in
I
a
could say that I
package.
made it myself, but I got that from a former boss, Adam Young, who's now a Division I college voice. And I remember my first job, and I thought that I was the best, and I kept on saying drilled one week, and then I said blasted one week, and then I saw like right in front of his computer, he had 100 descriptors in alphabetical order with like different markers. It was so organized, but like I photocopied that and I kept it with me. Like, it helped me so much.
Do you ever go back and listen to
All the time.
what
Old
what's
tapes.
what's kind of like your process? Do you go in listening without taking notes or are you taking notes right away? I'm a guy that I listen, I have to have my sheet of paper and I'm taking notes the whole time.
I don't. I try, like, let's say it was the Japan game. I'll try to
Mhm.
listen to that full game, like all 3 hours without notes. Just
Oh,
close
okay.
my eyes, like just listen, and then I'll go inning by inning with notes.
Okay. Because I was
I'll
going
go.
to wonder if maybe taking too many notes. Is then am I overthinking this now? Or
No, I mean, I think that you call a game, you think it sounds different, then you'll listen without any interruption and it'll sound different. And then you'll go inning by inning by inning, and it'll also sound different. But I think by those three mediums right there, just find the similarities and the feelings that you thought and make sure you jot those down on paper. So I think there's like a Venn diagram of like when you call it, when you listen to it, and when you get the innings. So
Um, before we move on to the Chicago Cubs news and just baseball news in general, I do want to get to one more personal thing with you because I know when you go on these road trips, at least when you did with the minor league
mhm.
team, you were a big wings guy and you would test out different wings, if I remember
Yeah. I
correctly.
mean, I'm a big food guy. I mean,
Connoisseur.
any unhealthy food I love. But no, it was wings because with the ICUP schedule in 2022, 2023, and 2024, the schedule gods would send us to Buffalo in April. So every time that we played the Buffalo Bisons in April, three of our six games would get snowed out or altered or delayed. So it gave us plenty of time to test buffalo wings. So whenever we were in Buffalo, I went to all the various wing places around Buffalo to get wings because buffalo wings are made in Buffalo. So I do love me some wings anywhere. My favorite spot in Des Moines is Jerry's on the east side. It's the
Okay.
best. Oh, right by the fairgrounds. If you've never been, definitely go.
It,
Um,
was there a
really, really good.
most disappointing place on your travels where you're like, oh, this place has to have the best wings, or everyone's raving about this, and then you sat down and you're like, damn, this is
There was
disappointing.
there was one place in Buffalo that I thought was good, but I thought it would be great. It's called Duff's. And like
Okay.
I read all the reviews and I'm like, oh, like they're the best. Like you're not going to get anything better. It was like the first wing place that I went to. And I'm like, I mean, they're good, but I feel like I can get them anywhere. So I was like kind of disappointed on Buffalo Wings for like 24 hours. And then the next day, I went to a place called Gabriel's Gate, and they're my favorite wings I've ever had in my life. So it kind of recalibrated my taste buds to a point where I'm happy with.
Do you think you could go on to that Hot Ones YouTube show where they do the hot wings?
Could, could I? Could
Could you
I?
finish
Sure.
it?
Would I succeed? No. Like I would be a wimp. I'd cry. I'd bow out. Like I would be not a fun experience for me. Like I could physically take myself there, but like after wing four, I'd be in a lot of pain and probably
I think we need to get Alex to Hot Ones.
whatever you want.
We
Well,
got to
I
try to
have a
do it.
similar hair guy as Sean, so
Yeah,
I mean,
there you go.
we go to the same barber. So
um with just with news coming out today with the Chicago Cubs, I want to hit on that before we let you go.
sure.
I like your tweets, the way you are processing all the, guys getting sent down to Iowa. You're not freaking out about Matt Shaw going down to
Why
Iowa.
would I? Why would I? Guys struggle when they make it up to the big leagues. Hitting's hard, especially in 2025. You look at every major figure that the Cubs have had over the last 10 years outside of Chris Bryant and Wilson Contreras, they've all gotten an option after their first big league debut, after their first cup of coffee. Kyle Tucker, who's the best hitter on the planet right now, and he is. He got option not once, but twice. You look at his first stretch, he was awful. In his first 72 plate appearances, he was bad. He got option again the next year. It happens. This takes time. So no, I'm not worried about it. Like he has to go down to AAA and make adjustments and clear his head. That's why AAA is there. It's a feeder. It's the I-80 shuffle to Wrigley Field. So knowing Matt, knowing his pedigree, knowing like what makes him tick, there's not a doubt that he'll come to Iowa, work hard, figure it out, and be back in the big leagues by the end of the year for me. So it's just a process. So I played 35 games at the AAA level, 35. So I think that it's very easy to not be level-headed about a situation like this, but I think if you have the proper context, you can get to that point.
No, that's what like Twitter can sometimes be a cesspool, but man, people were like going
It's
after
a,
Matt
is
Shaw
it
and
is absolutely accessible, but it's one that I am never deleting off my phone. It
oh,
always
I'm
every
addicted to it. It's like my alarm goes off in the morning and the first thing I open is Twitter. But
Yeah.
I loved how you were using the stats you were bringing up. Hey, this happened to Rizzo. This happened to
Literally
X, Y, and
everybody.
Z. Yeah.
Everybody but Chris Bryant and Wilson Contreras. And Chris Bryant got delayed after the best spring training in Cubs recent memory because they wanted him to start at the AAA level. So I think there's a lot of value to be in Iowa at this point of the season. I mean, I said this on another radio show. I'm really happy that they did this now and not in June or July. Because right now you can play John Birdie at third, you can play Gage Workman at third, you can play Vidal Brujan at third, and then if Matt Shaw, ends up correcting some things or refining some things at the AAA level, then it makes you make some decisions at the big league level because you're probably not going to be able to find at bats for a Gage Workman or a Vidal Brujan on a consistent basis. So some of them can be utility players and bench guys, and some of them can't. So I think that doing it right now, where you do have some roster flexibility, it helps them.
I know we were just saying, try to stay level headed with players getting optioned, but one that I just can't wrap my head around, and maybe you can help me, is Keegan Thompson being at Iowa right
Yeah.
now. That one just doesn't make sense to me, especially with the bullpen issues that we're seeing right now.
I mean, right now we're talking about it. It's April 15th. I mean, I would say let's revisit this conversation July 15th because Keegan obviously has a track record with the Cubs, a successful one last year where he had a sub-3 ERA. Keegan needs to stay healthy. Keegan needs to throw strikes, and he's been healthy and throwing strikes not only in spring training but also with the Iowa Cubs. So I think that we are really early into that conversation, and I think that Keegan, who has that track record, you can put him on the 40-man roster. He's part of the Cubs organization. I mean, you need a 60-day IL stint, or you need somebody to get released, or I mean, there's so many things that can happen from now until the end of the season. So I would not close the book or the chapter of Keegan Thompson as a Chicago Cub because if he keeps on doing this, he's putting himself in a position to come back up.
And it's funny. That just reminds me, because again, you're level headed. I'm the fan over here, like, what are we doing? It reminds me, I've seen videos on social media, and it's like when my NFL team loses in week 5, and it's like, oh, plenty of season left
Yeah.
where everything's going to be fine. But you're watching baseball and you see your team blow a lead in the second week of April, third week of April, and you're like, oh, sell everything, change it all. What's going wrong? But I do
I
want
mean,
to bring up.
it's April 15th, but I will say this, like every win and every loss matters because it's all calculated at the end of the year. You're not playing halves like you do at the AAA level. Like game one of 162 and game 162 and of 162, they don't matter the same, but they count the same. They do, if that
That's a
makes
good way to put it. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I do want to bring up the bullpen though, and I know it is early on, but maybe what are you seeing that Chicago could do to try to help out this bullpen that just blew a 3-1 lead the other night? They have allowed 9 runs in those 6 through 8 innings on
sense.
Monday. They have the fifth highest ERA for a bullpen, the most hits allowed, third most earned run average, and 11 least strikeouts as a bullpen combined. And again, I know we're in April, but what early on can revamp this
Here's my
bullpen?
one counter to the 11 least strikeouts. Their starters are going longer. They're more built up.
That's
I
a good
think
point.
I
That's
think
a good
that's
point.
definitely helped. For me, there are some positives to this bullpen. One, Ryan Presley, 4 for 4 and save opportunities, had that scoreless frame, stress-free frame with higher fastball velocity against the Dodgers in LA. That's a big one. I think Porter Hodge being like a viable top tier eighth inning guy, he's shown that from the time that he has stepped on the mound with the Cubs. So I think that's viable. I think we're seeing more Julian Merriweather of 2023 than 2024's version. That's viable. Brad Keller hit 99.5 yesterday in San Diego. He's part of the trust tree. He's a high leverage guy. So you got 4 guys right there who right now are getting out, so are throwing well. You probably have what 7 to 8 guys in a bullpen. One of those guys is going to be your long man. So you get Javier Assad coming back from the AAA level, major league rehabbing, getting him up to the big leagues. You have some flexibility with Colin Rice. So you have your long man. So you really need 2 or 3 relievers who can right now get some outs. Obviously, Nate Pearson gets option, not one of those guys. Eli Morgan is hurt. Caleb Thielbar's had one good outing, one bad outing. So you just need to get consistency from two of three of those other parts. Could it be Luke Little? He did it a little bit last year. Could it be Daniel Palencia? He has the stuff to do it. Could it be Keegan Thompson? So I think internally you do have options to fill those roles. But if not, then you'll have to go to the trade market. But I think that there is still plenty of time to figure that out.
A huge thank you to Alex Cohen. Again, we could have spent 3 hours. I think I wanted to learn more about his mascot days. That was incredible. I mean, that just reminds me of, scenes from like Hot Rod when he's trying to make extra money. So he's doing kids' birthday parties and they like light him on fire. But just incredible. And maybe these conversations in a way, with these people that I look up to are in a sense a way to motivate me to keep going, and maybe are a little bit of a therapy session when, I listen back to a show and go, damn, that's not that good. But then I hear stories from Tommy and Alex and guys who have persevered through, whether it is, dressing up as a mascot, only making $200 a month, and just finding ways to grind out to get to your dream. And now Alex is calling 25 games for the Chicago Cubs on Marquee Network. And it's just a really cool story, and one of the easiest guys to root for as well. Alex Cohen, really appreciate him. Like we said at the start of the show, he was calling a softball game earlier that night. So he got done with that, maybe had something quick to eat, and then jumped right on our Zoom call. So means the world that he was able to do that. Really appreciate him. And I think we're going to plan to have him on quite a bit this summer to just talk ball. So really excited about that. Before we finish up today's show, because there's one more stupid story I want to get to. But before we get to that, need to give a shout out to our sponsor at Stevens Automotive and Sales. Stevens over at 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. Again, the best place to go to get anything with your car, whether it's getting a brand new car or just a simple oil change, or maybe it is something big. They are the best place to go because they shoot it straight. They are always in a caring fashion, trying to make things work to your best ability, because everyone's financial situation is different. My mom, when she goes in to get her car fixed, if it's a bigger issue, he talks to her in a different way than he does to me, because he knows I'm just starting out. I'm 24. I don't know much about cars. And he tries to talk me through of, hey, we need to fix this here. This will cost you X amount of dollars. We can wait on this so it saves you a little more money. And they're not, that car company that's going to be like, hey, we saw, your windshield wiper was a little beat up, so we made sure to fix that, and that'll be an extra $800. They don't upcharge you. They're always there to help out and are just wonderful people too. And maybe you have a young kid that is just starting to drive and you're looking to get them a car, a used car. I got my used car from Stevens, and it was a great car. Impala, until I ran that thing to the ground. They were awesome, and I think my whole family, there's a reason they've been going to Stevens for 20 plus years, and it's because they're trustworthy, they're reliable, and they just bring great people to help work on your car. So go check out Stevens Automotive and Sales at 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. And when you do, make sure to tell them that Media Row sent you. One last thing I want to get to before we wrap up today's show. Again, I know these interview ones are going on a little longer than our typical shows. Hopefully you're enjoying them. I love doing them, and appreciate the comments, the shares, the likes, all that good stuff. But did you guys see that Colorado is going to retire Sanders and Travis Hunter's numbers? Don't get me wrong. Were they great athletes? Yeah. Did they kind of put Colorado back on the map and become a respectable college team? They did. And Travis Hunter won the Heisman. Did something I hadn't seen in my lifetime at someone at that caliber playing offense and defense at the same time. They're fantastic players, first round picks, could be top 5 picks. That all is true. But retiring their numbers after 2 years, they never went to the college football playoffs. Did they win a bowl game? I don't even know if they won a bowl game. But to be honest, bowl games don't matter as much as they used to. And when you have that much talent, that much hype, I think fans were expecting for them to make a push to be in the top 10. And we never just really saw that team get to that point. They started off that first year electric. They were 4-0 and, ranked in the top 20. But then it kind of fell apart after that Stanford loss. And last year, a good team, but nothing spectacular. I don't get it. And I think a lot of people on Twitter aren't understanding it. I'm seeing people bitching because Colorado has had great players from the mid to early 90s that deserve to have their numbers retired well before they even bring up Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. But, man, just does not make any sense to me why retire their numbers. But did appreciate Colorado State's response, their tweet where they were like 0 bowl wins, 0 college football playoff appearances, and like 98 social media posts or something like that. So that was a good jab, but you are Colorado State. I think you lost both times to Shedeur Sanders. So I respect the game. I respect the trash talking game, but to a certain extent, I mean, you got to be able to take it back too. But just a dumb conversation. Thought that'd be a fun one to end the show on. But thank you again for listening, tuning in. Make sure to continue to download, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on our social media pages. And a huge, huge thank you to Alex Cohen for taking time out of his busy evening to join us as well. Friday, make sure to have your phone set ready to click that download button right at noon, because Coach Eric Henderson coming on the show, Drake men's basketball brand new head coach, coming on our show to discuss kind of his recruiting plans, his goals, and how he got to Drake on the Media Row podcast with me, Justin. That's on Friday, and that's when I will see you next. You guys have a great night.